Now to our focus, the Maldives government has challenged the Supreme Court as it ordered its security forces to resist any move by the court to arrest or impeach President Abdullah Yameen. The court on Friday had ruled the trial of exiled ex-President Mohammad Nasheed unconstitutional and ordered the release of 8 other MPs. But refusing to comply, the government instead suspended the parliament. In fact, according to reports, Yameen is looking to sack SC judges, including Chief Justice Abdullah Saeed, by filing false cases against them. Sources in the Maldivian apex court have turned to India for help, asking India to take tough measures to ensure the implementation of law in the country. The tussle between the Supreme Court and the Yameen government began last week when the court ordered the immediate release of former President Mohammad Nasheed and 8 other opposition leaders. The ruling ordered that they be tried again on the grounds that the previous proceedings had violated the constitution and international law. The court also ordered the reinstatement of 12 lawmakers who had been stripped of their parliamentary seats by Yameen's party. The reinstatement of the dozen legislators who now belong to the opposition would cause Yameen's party to lose its majority in the 85-member parliament. So that's the latest that we are getting you from that political turmoil that's brewing in Maldives. Now the government has challenged the top court of the country. The Attorney General is saying that the move to arrest the president would be illegal, and this is coming after the government has challenged the Supreme Court ruling which last week set free the former president of Maldives, Mohammad Nasheed, and other opposition leaders who were jailed in the country. And now the Maldives government has challenged that Supreme Court order. The decision by the Supreme Court in Maldives is a major shot in the arm for former President Mohammad Nasheed. Democracy is barely a decade old in the country. Nasheed was the country's first democratic president. Before that, the country was ruled for 3 decades by Maumoon Abdul Gayoom, the strongman of Maldives. He was voted out of the president's office in the 2008 elections, the year Nasheed took over. 5 years later, in 2013, there was a chaotic snap election. Nasheed lost and Gayoom's family made a return to power. Maumoon Abdul Gayoom's half-brother Abdullah Yameen won. He is now the president of Maldives. His rival and political opponent Mohammad Nasheed had to resign in 2012 after he faced massive public protests for ordering the arrest of a senior judge. He was later sentenced to a 13-year jail term, but he escaped and got asylum in Britain. From here, the political situation got only worse. Gayoom had a falling out with his half-brother, the current president Yameen. He was evicted from his own party alongside other loyalists. Since then, this rival faction has joined hands with Mohammad Nasheed to form an opposition alliance. It's this alliance whose members were jailed, and it's this alliance of a former president and a former dictator that is challenging the authority of the current president. So that's the latest that we are getting you from Maldives. The situation continues to worsen in the country. The political turmoil is at its peak. Now the government, the president, has challenged the Supreme Court ruling which came out last week, in which the former president of Maldives was set free. He is in exile, but the charges against him, the court said that all the political opponents, including the president, there will be a retrial, but he was released. And now the government, the president, says that this ruling by the Supreme Court will be challenged, and all the authorities have been asked not to follow that ruling. For more on this, I am joined by Abdullah Shahid, who's former Foreign Minister of Maldives, who's joining us on the phone line. So thank you so much for speaking to World is One News. Your initial reaction to this political turmoil. This is, in a way, because Maldives has been witnessing one twist after the other. There has been volatility in the country, but the latest situation where the government is challenging the top court of the country, what do you have to say about this?
Well, I'm shocked, I'm disturbed, and I'm outraged by the decision of the President and his Attorney General to defy the Supreme Court order. The Supreme Court, within our Constitution, is the highest authority in adjudication of justice here. And we have to abide by the decisions, by the orders of the Supreme Court, if the country is to be governed by rule of law. And if it is the President, if it is the military and the police and the Attorney General and the Prosecutor General who comes out in the public and say that they will not obey the orders of the Supreme Court, then I'm afraid that the country is going in a very wrong direction, where individuals will start defying orders from authorities, and the country would fast spiral into anarchy.
Right. Sir, at this point in time, there are reports that, there's a section in Maldives that's turned to India for help. Where do you see India's role in this situation panning out? How do you see India taking the lead and helping Maldives ensure stability at this point of time?
Well, madam, here in the Maldives, we have a strange belief that we somehow have landed up in this ocean called the Indian Ocean. And in this region of Indian Ocean, India is looked up as an icon of democracy, a beacon of hope, and also a country which promotes stability, peace throughout the region. And we do not believe that it is in the interest of either India or in the interest of the region or in the interest of peace and security of the Indian Ocean that Maldives should spiral down into an anarchic state, a lawless state, where the public, where the citizens are to be governed by a team of law-defying people, and we look to India with hope.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Shahid, for speaking to India Today and giving us your comprehensive perspective on this story, the big story that's developing in Maldives. There's political turmoil. The president of Maldives and the government is challenging the top court, and one development after the other, this tussle brewing between the police and the Supreme Court. There are sources that are saying that the country is turning to India for help, and they hope that India will ensure that peace returns to Maldives and the law of the land is implemented. We'll keep tracking that story closely on WION.